So most of us, as we grow up, we usually come to the realization that our families are weird. They're not normal, and usually they're not perfect, and they're broken. All of us are broken people, and so we all come from fractured, broken families. But a lot of this comes with pain. We usually realize that there's major tensions in our families, or maybe there's secrets that we wish we didn't know about, or maybe there's fractures of relationships. Maybe there's people in your family you don't even get to see because certain people can't even be in the same room together. But the problem with this is we respond to this pain by usually writing off our family and writing ourselves out of the equation. We hide in our rooms, we put our earbuds in, and we just disengage with our families. Or maybe our families, we write them off saying because of their mistakes or the things they struggle with, they don't have any authority on your life or they're not important. Maybe you do this with your parents because of the mistakes they've made. Or maybe with your siblings, you're like, you're never going to have a good relationship. It'll never get better, so why try? But what if I told you that there was a truth that would radically change your perspective on your family, that could change your family? Well, that's what we're going to talk about this week. So here's the good news, you guys. God has a history of working with dysfunctional families. And so this week, I want to share about one of those families from the Bible with you. When we go to the book of Genesis, we see this guy named Abraham who God calls and says that he is going to be the father of a great nation. Then he has a miraculous son named Isaac, who then goes and marries a woman named Rebecca. And they end up having two boys, twins, but they're so different. Esau's the older brother, and he's sort of this wild huntsman. He's skilled at hunting animals, so he's always outside. And then the younger brother, Jacob, he pretty much just likes to stay around at home. So they're very different. But in their custom, there's also something that causes a lot of conflict in their family. There's this thing called the birthright, and the oldest son, the firstborn son, would receive this. And this meant that Esau, as the older brother, he would get this huge inheritance, this plethora of wealth from their family. And then also, he would also become the sort of head of their tribe, their family, when their father died. But probably the best part is the fact that he would receive a blessing from their father, which meant that he would be blessed by God. So you can imagine the tension, the jealousy. But even more, the parents have favorites. It's this awful and horrible thing that you read and you go, wow, how is this? But the mother, she favors the younger son named Jacob. And the father, Isaac, he favors the older son named Esau. So you can imagine this is not looking pretty so far. Now, let's jump into this passage as we look at this moment where the brothers start to interact. So once when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from open country famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished." And Jacob replied, "First, sell me your birthright." "Look, I am about to die," Esau said. "What good is the birthright to me?" But Jacob said, "Swear to me first." Totally a sibling thing, right? Manipulating. So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. And that's exactly what happens. It's crazy. Esau sells his birthright to his brother, and so his brother takes it. Years later, Jacob actually continues and deceives his father even to give him the blessing. He goes and his mother even conspires with him and he covers himself in hair, goes to their father, Isaac, who's so old and about to die that he's blind, can't tell who's who. So he puts his hair on him so he feels like his wild, hairy brother. And he even takes this blessing from the father. When Esau finds out, what does he do? He goes angry and mad. Like, not only did you take my birthright, but you took my blessing, this prayer of blessing over me. So he goes after Jacob, trying to kill him. So there's so many details. You can go and look at this by yourself. Go read Genesis. It's crazy stories. But I don't want us to miss this point, that in the midst of this mess of a family, God enters into their family and works in them. This story is an amazing story because as we continue down the line, Jesus comes from the story. In fact, when we look at the book of Hebrews in chapter 11, the writer includes them in this history, this hall of fame of faith warriors, and says, by faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau in regard to their future. But here's the thing, this was in there not so that we would copy them, not so that we could be like Esau and Jacob. No, but to show us of who God is, that God is at work in all people. He doesn't count anyone out. He doesn't write off any families. In fact, he uses this family. I mean, he knew what Jacob would do. Even before they were born, he told their mother that Jacob and Esau were going to war against each other and that the older brother was going to serve against the younger brother. God knew what was going to happen, and yet he enters their dysfunction. He enters their mess. He doesn't count them out. And so I think the bottom line for us is the fact that your family matters, even if it's fractured. God didn't give up on this family. God did not count them out because of their dysfunction. So he doesn't count out us and our fractured and broken families. So I think for us, we have to kind of deal with that. So then what do we do? The question is for you is, how do you apply this? I know it's hard, but maybe for us, we need to stop counting out our family. And maybe we need to start engaging in our family. Maybe we need to start leaning into our families and listen to our parents. And don't discredit the relationship we might be able to have with our siblings just because of their mistakes or the mistakes of our parents. Don't discredit them and write them off, but lean in and stop ignoring them, putting our earbuds in and isolating ourselves. Now, I want to be really clear, because what this doesn't mean is, it doesn't mean that if there's something unsafe in your home, if you are feeling like you're in a dangerous situation, physically or mentally, emotionally, sometimes there's a reason why we do need to step back. But there's a difference between something dangerous and annoying. So I think for us, the challenge is, what would it look like for us if we treated our families like they mattered? As if God could actually redeem us and our families. Remember, Jesus came to the earth and he died on the cross, not just to redeem us as individuals, but our entire families. Imagine if we miss out on the story that God could be telling in our families. So remember, God hasn't written off your family. So maybe we shouldn't either.